Now, the Duval Rundown, driven by Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, home of the lifetime warranty.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Duval Rundown. Pleased to be joined as always on Wednesday by our good friend Ryan O'Halloran, columnist for the Florida Times-Union. Ryan, how are we doing today?
We're good. It's always good to get that first game out of the way and get into a routine. And, hey, but we have to wait until week 4.
Week 4.
We must wait till week 4 to anoint the Jaguars as a favorite, according to somebody who used to be in the media.
Yeah. If you wait till week 4, it's kind of a fact at that point. You don't really need an opinion. The data has sort of made itself pretty clear. But
3-1, you're good.
Yeah, we'll be comfortable speculating as to what might happen and what we think should happen. And I really thought a great debut for Liam Cohen. But what did you take away from how he handled his first game as an NFL head coach?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. We don't have grandiose expectations for this Jaguars team. We do expect improvement. We think their roster is better. That's what you should do to a Carolina team on your home field. Carolina is not good, so beat them 26-10. They're not good stopping the run, so run for 200. Their quarterback isn't good, so force 3 turnovers. So they checked all the boxes, and I thought it was a pretty thorough performance. Trevor Lawrence's numbers were pretty pedestrian, but he didn't need to have great numbers when you're running it like that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I agree. Now, obviously, we've had some big news since the win. James Gladstone trades running back Tank Bigsby to Philadelphia for a 5th and 6th round choice in next year's draft. You advocated. I'm advocating. You advocated for this trade a couple of weeks ago in the paper. So you obviously weren't surprised, but did you like the move and what they were able to get back?
Yeah, I liked it for both teams. The Eagles get a player in Tank Bigsby who can return kicks, who provides running back depth. And, the Eagles are playing the long game this year. They expect to play 20 games. You cannot have Saquon Barkley getting 500 touches again. So, use a guy like Bigsby. They give up a 5th and a 6th. The Eagles have plenty of those in their satchel. As from the Jaguars side is, they feel very comfortable with their 2 rookies, Tootin and Allen backing up ATN. And so now you add 2 more picks that we'll get into this in a second. You just add 2 more chess pieces that you can play with. But, I don't want to, it sounds like, well, you knew what was going to happen. Well, he only played a couple snaps with less than 10 snaps or 13 snaps against Carolina, only had a couple carries. So my guess is that Gladstone was canvassing the league before cutdown day, didn't like what he saw, and then made the smart move of, hey, let's just wait till somebody has a need. And that's what he did.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if a player like Devin Lloyd or Darnell Savage could be in the same boat in the weeks to come if there are some injuries around the league. Because like you mentioned, Philadelphia with Shipley breaking ribs, they needed some depth behind Saquon. And the historical data does suggest that with Saquon's workload last year being as high as it was in terms of the touches, that he will probably miss time at some point this season. I agree with you. I like the move for Philly. And if Bigsby gets a chance there, if Saquon does get hurt and Bigsby gets an opportunity to have 15 carries in a game for the Eagles, he's going to do well. Mm-hmm. For the Jaguars' perspective, to get 2 picks back for a running back that's not really in your plans, you don't often have a surplus in this league, but in this case, they really did have 1 more good back than you really need. And, and again, Tootin and Allen certainly look like they're ready. Tootin only played 4 snaps the other day, but, Allen obviously being the 3rd down back, it creates a good problem for the Jaguars.
Yeah, real quick on Etienne. What does this mean for Travis's future? I thought, a couple weeks ago, if they hung on to Bigsby, they'd let Travis's contract expire and move on instead of re-signing him. Now maybe that's on the table a little bit. It's not going to be a $6 million player, but maybe there's a short-term, a bridge deal or something like that. So I think that's something to be considered as well, because if you let him walk, then you're going into next season with 2 second-year guys and maybe 2 rookies at that position. So another subplot for that move.
Yeah, without a doubt. And even if Etienne has a big year and then you let him hit the market, if he does sign a fairly significant deal for the position, then you're getting should be a pretty decent comp pick, depending on how active the Jaguars decide they want to be in free agency. But with all those picks, there's not, you only have room for 53 players. So, if they like a lot of the moves that they made this year in terms of their draft and their first year free agent haul, they now have 13 picks, not a first rounder because of the Travis Hunter deal, but almost double the allotment of what you start with, which is 7 picks. How can James Gladstone and company utilize these resources? How can they maximize this? And what are some of the options that they have to further build this roster?
Yeah, well, I'll rule out one option is getting back into the first round next year, because it's very difficult to get into the first round. You use those picks to move up once you have something. So I'll rule that out. But what it does is I'll divide this into 2 scenarios. One is at the trade deadline this year. Let's say the Jaguars are in contention for the division or a wild card. You reward your players by making a move, and you have 4, 5, 5, 6, 4 7s. You trade one of those 7s for a rental player. You could trade one of those 5ths for a player that has another year left on his deal. So it gives them options in the present, but also on draft weekend. Listen, they're not going to make 13 picks. If they think this roster is headed where it needs to be, they won't have room for 9 picks. So I think he'll be moving up and down that draft board pretty actively, starting on night 2 and rounds 2 and 3, because right now he has a 2nd and 3 3s. Well, those are premium picks, and you can. I would like him. I would like for the Jaguars to come out at night 2 next year with 4 players. On Saturday, that's when you can really start moving up the board while you prioritize a player.
Yeah, and again, if the Jaguars are in this and it's just week 1, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but the Jaguars look pretty good. The Texans do not. Now, maybe the Colts surprise, maybe Daniel Jones, what they showed against the Dolphins is for real, and maybe the Colts are better than what we think, and maybe Daniel Jones has finally found the right environment. Tennessee played tough, gritty against Denver, but I don't think that it's hard to imagine the Titans being a real contender in this thing. So if you're the Jags, I mean, if you get to the trade deadline and you're right in the middle of this, and I think there's a good chance they are, I mean, to have all those 4s and 5s, we've seen it before in 2017 with the Marcel Darius trade. I mean, a deadline move could really boost this roster.
And one thing that you saw in other sports in the last couple of years is teams being active well ahead of the deadline. And I think if you're the Jaguars, that has to be a consideration. If you're 4 and 2, if you're 4 and 3, that kind of thing, but you're in the mix, say, hey, why wait till the deadline? Let's make a move now, and so you can maximize that player, which most likely would be a rental. So you mentioned the Darius trade. I was going to bring that up as well. That happened on a Friday night, I think, during a bye week. And Marcel helped their interior. Where the next couple of weeks will crystallize for us, Hayes, is if they do make a move, where do they need to make it? And that's what will start to come into focus as in health considerations, and also, okay, who's just not stepping up?
Let's start looking ahead to the Cincinnati game. Obviously, when you play Cincinnati, it starts with Burrow and Chase and Higgins. But how do you assess what Cincinnati put on film against Cleveland? They won the game, and they deserve credit for that. A divisional win on the road to start the year. But 17-16, they were fortunate. The Browns missed a relatively short field goal and an extra point. And really, it didn't look like Cincinnati had a whole lot going on offense. They struggled to protect Burrow. The offensive numbers weren't great. How do you kind of take stock of where Cincinnati is heading into week 2?
They had 2 second-half yards, Hayes, and 1. That's that. I mean, that's 6 feet of offense. You know, the Browns are going to Brown, so to speak, and that's what they did. I mean, I watched the some of the Cincinnati game this morning. Burrow, Cleveland was rushing 4, and Myles Garrett didn't really use his best stuff to get 2 sacks. So I think there's going to be an opportunity for Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. They didn't have a sack this past week, but I thought they were pretty active with their pressures. I think there's going to be an opportunity to rush Joe Burrow. I think there's going to be one thing the Jaguars will probably be aware of is there's going to be a course correction. They're going to get Jamar Chase involved early, just like I think the Jaguars are going to even try harder to get Brian Thomas Jr. involved early. So on defense for the Bengals, they played nickel pretty much the whole game. Trey Hendrickson is probably the biggest threat on that front. The Bengals had 141 yards offense. I mean, you got to figure they're going to be a little bit better, but if you can stop the run and force into some passing, then you can take advantage of that suspect O-line.
Yeah, and Chase Brown was pretty ineffective. He did score, but was like 21 carries for 43 yards. So Cincinnati enters week 2 dead last in the NFL in regards rushing per play at just 2.0. They were good on third down, which kind of speaks to Burrow. And, you know, and you referenced something that Cleveland did, and I'm curious to see how Anthony Campanile will handle it. Because I thought he had some great blitzes against Carolina. The Jordan Lewis one that he hits Bryce Young, pass incomplete on a key down. Would you blitz Burrow a lot if you're Campanile, or would you hope that your 4 get home? Because to me, Burrow is so good against the blitz that if you could just rush 4 and not try and engage him in a chess match, you might be better served.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that worked against Bryce Young in terms of dropping a lineman, rushing a corner, Burrow's going to sniff that out. I would lean on the 4-man pass rush, but also I would be more apt to send a linebacker to challenge that interior of that line, and because any quarterback struggles with pressure from the interior. So if you come from the edges, he'll just wiggle out of the way. So I would expect more of a rush and cover game than a simulated pressure game from Campanile. But but they're going to face all kinds of quarterbacks, so that's why it's a week to week plan. They played a lot of dime against the Bengals. I'll be interested to see what they do in that respect as well.
Yeah,
dime last week.
Yeah. I want to get to your thoughts on, you reference getting BTJ going, and certainly on the other side with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think they combined for 5 catches for 59 yards. So I want to get to that, but first let's hear from our sponsor, Jacob.
I'm Rick Ballou, Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, proud partner of the Jaguars. Drive with confidence. Every new vehicle comes with our exclusive lifetime warranty. 7030 Commonwealth Avenue or online at jackswest.com.
Liam Cohen will be meeting with us in about an hour, and one of the things that I'm curious to talk to Liam about is BTJ, and what's sort of the balance that you have to strike if you're a head coach of letting it sort of happen organically, because obviously he's a great player. He's coming off a 1-catch game. Now he did score off of a reverse, a run, but 1 catch. Obviously, he's not going to have 17 catches for the year. So do you let that organically happen, or do you press it a little bit more to get him more involved? Because if there's a little bit of a fine line there, it'll be interesting to hear what Liam Cohen says when he meets with us in about an hour.
I can't find my notebook from the game, Hayes. He addressed that on Monday a little bit, and Liam Cohen made a good point. First play of the game, down the left sideline, Brian Thomas. Trevor Lawrence didn't throw a good ball. They tried a bubble. Brian dropped it. They tried in the second half. Thomas is open on the left side again. Lawrence overshot him. So, the 7 targets for me is what the encouraging part was. You target him 7 times against Cincinnati, chances are he'll have 5 catches. He's that kind of efficient player. So I think in your openers, you do maybe try and get him involved, just like you tried to get him involved against Carolina. It just didn't work out. But the other thing I'd do is Travis Hunter had 6 catches for 33 total yards. I don't like him on those tunnel screens. I don't like him on those quick slants. Maybe try and work them on the both same side of the formation, and have some high-low stuff. Maybe throw Brian a quick slant where he can turn up the field and get some yards after catch. But this was, Liam now has 60 plus plays to analyze his system with these players in a full game, and I expect some adjustments in that respect. And also Brenton Strange, if he keeps on averaging 15 yards a catch, you're going to keep him involved.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned him because what a revelation. I was incredibly impressed. I mean, it started with getting him involved right out of the gate. He had 3 catches for 49 yards on the opening drive, which I think he was quiet after that, but I think there was a reason for that. I think Carolina adjusted and was like, look, we got to, figure this out quick, or, this guy's going to have 150 yards today. And, and so I think Brenton Strange being active early in the passing game open some other things up. And I mean, he's incredible as a blocker, as we saw. So, boy, that could be a real X factor for the Jaguars, Ryan, if Brenton Strange is starting to elevate to, I'm not going to throw Pro Bowl and stuff like that, but if he is starting to elevate into I'll say this, a name everybody would know in the NFL at that position, boy, that could be a real game changer for this, fledgling Jaguars team.
Yeah, and his first catch on that first drive, he chipped the defensive end, and then he was wide open. By all means, just let him run free, Carolina Panthers. So I don't think the Bengals or future opponents are going to, if they see Brenton Strange chipping a guy, they're going to keep an eye on him. But what impressed me is sort of the yards after the catch. So I thought that was a real encouraging sign, because this, at the tight end position, this is his ball game now. There's no Evan Ingram around. So, and then you mentioned that wham block on the 71-yard carry. That was the real key block on that play. So all around good game for him. And so it's, you look at their stat sheet from last week, 32 carries for 200 yards, obviously the 71-yarder, but it skews that average a little bit. But
they also had 2 kneel downs.
Yeah. And Lawrence had a couple of scrambles. So they were just very good in the run game. And to me, that's going to be the key when you play on the road is, sort of help try and control the clock, stay at a 3rd and long. And one thing about Cincinnati last week, Cleveland went a combined 11 of 18 on 3rd and 4th down. So there could be some chances there to really extend some drives and keep the ball.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Cincinnati in this game. Yes, they're 1-0, but it didn't look great, and they've struggled the last few years in the first quadrant of the season, so much so that Taylor, the coach, played them in the preseason. That was sort of their thing, is Burrow played. I mean, he was taking hits in a preseason game. Remember, he was running all around and getting tossed around like a rag doll. And I think the second preseason game that was nationally televised, and it was like, what's going on in Cincinnati? But they were like, well, we're playing because we've gotten off to slow starts and we need to correct that. Well, they did win Sunday, but there was definitely some fluke to it. And it was against a team that no one expects to really be a contender this year in Cleveland. So I think there's some pressure. It's their home opener. And if they get off to a sluggish start, it could get a little dicey, I would think, in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and here's why there should be urgency. After the Jaguars, at Minnesota, at Denver, home to Detroit, at Green Bay, home to Pittsburgh.
Wow.
It's a critical game for the Bengals. And it's an opportunity for the Jaguars to really build some momentum going into that Houston game. So, if you had to is it a bigger game for Cincinnati or Jacksonville? It's clearly a much bigger game for Cincinnati for the reasons we just talked about.
Yeah, without a doubt. Ryan, let's wrap it here because we got to get down to the stadium. Let's go over, how do you think this game will play out on Sunday? And then let us know what we can look forward to reading from you in the Times Union and on Jacksonville.com.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pick the Bengals because of their home field, and also for the reason we just talked about in their schedule. It's a big game for them.
They have Joe Burrow.
Yeah, yes, and that's probably the number one reason. I mean, I saw him slice and dice a Bills defense several times over the last couple of years, so great respect for him. I do think it's going to be a close game. I think the last line I saw is Bengals by 3.5. In the Times Union this week, sort of a non-Jaguar column. I caught up with the new UNF men's basketball coach for a column for tomorrow. And then also for later this week with Jaguars, just Liam Cohen's success on opening drives last year and then this year, what sort of goes into that. And then I know this will be right in your wheelhouse, the life and times of Billy Napier in Saturday's paper.
Does the story end with him moving out of Gainesville?
You will hate read that column.
I'm in a bad mood. I was in a great mood. Now I'm in a bad mood. But I'll snap out of it. But all right. Well, Ryan, great stuff. We always appreciate it. We'll look forward to next Wednesday when we break down what happened in Cincinnati and peek ahead to what will be a gigantic game, week 3 at home against the Houston Texans. Thank you guys for watching Duval Rundown. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back Friday with Rick Ballou. That's going to do it for Ryan O'Halloran. I'm Hayes Carlyon. Take care.